Fais le violon.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I hope you enjoyed your first course. And I am delighted to welcome our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, our dear friend and partner at the Action and Protection League, Rabbi Shlomo Kovesh, who wants to share some thoughts with you. Rabbi Kovesh, please join us. Thank you.
Your Honor, Minister of Justice, Mrs. Nicole Belloubet, Prime Minister Anders Rasmussen, the President of Consistoire, Mr. Yoel Mergui, Rabbi Menachem Margolin, dear guests, dear friends, community leaders, and our politician friends who are here with us tonight. Good evening. First of all, what a beautiful event, in what a beautiful place, with such beautiful people. I know there are many people here from all over Europe, but I just want to say one word before I start to our French brothers, people from the French Jewish communities. You don't know how lucky you are. You have a president of the Consistoire, one of the oldest and largest Jewish communities of Europe, Mr. Mergui. And maybe you don't know because, every community has its own politics, own internal issues. But we from other countries from Europe, like myself from Hungary, we look at the French community, we look up to this community, not only because of its size, and not only because of its strong identity, its strong relations with the local government, but also because of its leadership. To build such a building, such a beautiful center in the heart of Paris, and to achieve from the government that this place should be called Kikar Yerushalayim, Place de Yerushalayim. It's an unbelievable achievement, and it's an unbelievable pathway that is shown to all of us in Europe, that we should never give up, and when we see darkness, we should know we have to fight the darkness with light. And this is why I really admire Mr. Mergui, and he deserves another round of applause. I hope one day we will be able to host you, Mr. Mergui, in such a beautiful center in Budapest. And we are open to get donations from everybody, from you as well. And now on a somewhat more serious note. Anybody here likes foie gras? Nobody likes foie gras? I don't know if tonight we will have foie gras, but my first story that I want to share with you, the first personal story that I want to share with you has to do with foie gras. Maybe not many people in France know, but the only place in Europe where we make kosher foie gras is in Hungary. And our community in Hungary has a factory for kosher foie gras. Much of it comes to France, and you enjoy it very much. And sometimes a community leader like myself, I have to deal a little bit with the foie gras issue, with the geese. And one of the farmers that I work with outside of the capital, outside of Budapest, an old 60-year-old farmer. And we work with him for many years, obviously a non-Jewish person, a farmer. He has like 10,000 geese in his farm. And for many years we keep in contact. And always he tells me, Rabbi, I want one time to treat you with something very special. So I told him, what do you want to treat me with? He says, you know, I live with the geese in a forest. And sometimes I go hunting. And I want to invite you to come hunt with me some deer. So I don't know if you know, but it's not a very Jewish thing to go hunting. And especially not a very proper thing maybe for a rabbi to go hunting for deer. But he asked me from year after year, and I have to admit, I have 5 children and 2 sons out of the 5. One is 18 years old, the other one is 6 years old. And they told me, Dad, we have to go. We want to see how it's like to when he goes hunting the deer. So I gave in. And we go one day, we go down to his place. I don't know if anybody from this crowd went hunting ever. So I don't know, maybe this is only in Hungary, but the way we went hunting, we went up to this big, Migdal, tower, thank you. And we were sitting there by night, and this guy has this, he looks, this night watcher, he looks for the deer. We're sitting there for hours, and I don't have to tell you, me, after 1 hour, I fell asleep. And my 2 sons are exchanging this night watching thing, and they're watching where's the deer coming, and no deers are coming. So we're sitting there for 5 hours, no deers. Okay, so the guy was very embarrassed. He said, that's never happened before. I told him maybe God wants to show me that it's not the right thing. So we come down, we go into the car, and my little son, 6 years old son, his name is Mendy, he starts speaking to the old man. He tells him, so what is your name? So he tells him, Yuri. This is in Hungarian, George. He tells him, and where are you from? And he starts telling him. Then he asks him suddenly, and are you Jewish? My son, he doesn't understand. He says to him, are you Jewish? So I was shocked, I never thought to ask such a thing. So this farmer tells him, no, I'm not Jewish, but my grandmother was Jewish. So he asks him, my son knows right away, according to the Jewish law, it's if passes on by mother. So he tells him, your grandmother from your mother's side or from your father's side? So he goes, yeah, from my mother's side. So my son tells him, I have good news for you, you're Jewish. So I told my sons, later on, you see what happens if a rabbi goes hunting? He doesn't succeed to find deers, but he succeeds to find Jews. And obviously, once I found this man, after many years of working with him, I right away made a prayer with him and explained him. But this is all in the merit of hunting and my 6-year-old son. The other little story I want to tell you, and I will connect it to this place and to Mr. Mergi also. The other little story I want to tell you, together with the Action and Protection League in Hungary, we have many programs, and some of our programs are educational programs. And myself and other community leaders and other rabbis, we take part in the program where we go to different high schools, public schools, and we speak for 1 hour about what it means to be a Jew. And you should know this is a crazy experience. Speaking one-on-one to non-Jewish kids from these high schools, and many of them have no idea what does it mean to be a Jew. And they see a rabbi for the first time, they are surprised he doesn't have horns. One time, I went to a school of the army, Hungarian army. This is a high school for kids that want to take part in the army. They want to enroll in the army, and already in the high school, they take part in the high school for the army. Before I go in, the principal of the school tells me, Rabbi, I want you to be careful. This high school, you should know, this class is the final class, the 12th grade. They're going to be, many of them turned 18. And we made a little survey between them who they're going to vote for. And 90% of them said they will go vote for the Jobbik party, which you know is an extreme right anti-Semitic party in Hungary. So it tells me, you know, Rabbi, be careful when you go into the class. I went into the class and I have to tell you, there's nothing like speaking face to face, one-on-one to people. Every person has a soul. And if he's approached, most of the time, it has an effect on him. I speak for a while, and at the end of the class, I always let the kids to ask questions. At the end of the hour, a few kids raised their hands, and I could hear from their questions that many of them have many anti-Semitic ideas. The last row, a kid picks up his hand. He says, Rabbi, I want to ask you a question. If somebody's parents are Jewish, does he also have to be Jewish? Or can he leave his Jewishness? I looked at this boy. I knew his question is not a question in theory. Because if you looked at him, you saw, as we say in Hungary, 100 kehilot, 100 Jewish communities were written on his face. You could see right away he was a Jewish boy. But he was struggling with the fact that he's Jewish because his classmates were so negative towards Judaism and towards Jews. Why am I saying these two stories? Because many people ask today, and Rabbi Margoli mentioned before, what is the largest danger to European Jewry today? If I ask this in this hall, what would you say is the first and foremost greatest danger to Jews, the present and the future of Jews in Europe today? What would be your answer? So I think